Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you another video. All right, so I'm thinking about the Zion Williamson conversation. Now, maybe the Pelicans have made up their mind. They don't want Zion anymore. They think he's damaged goods. He's never going to get in shape. All of that. Cool. All right, fine. I'm not going to make the argument they need to keep Zion. But why should you trade for Zion? First of all, Zion, if you've seen the footage that I've seen of him grabbing a basketball and the basketball bending in, that is why you want to keep Zion. When you think about players like Amen Thompson and Ja Morant and all these incredible athletes, you know that Zion is one of them. He's one of them, if not the of all of them. And we need to remember that. Um, he's out of shape, which gives me concern that he's getting off to a bad start. But you can't overestimate the age of a player like Zion Williamson and the fact that he hasn't had a lot of mileage at all because he hasn't been on the floor. I think there's a reason to believe that this could be a season where he goes to a new place and has an incredible season where he's averaging like 26 points a game. Because that's who he is. He's already proven that. He's already been an all-star at 22 years old. So I just think that there's a lot of overreaction to his absence, for which I think a lot of that had to do with immaturity, to be honest with you. And some of that I think has to do with just him probably wanting out of New Orleans. I heard somebody saying that they think this entire thing is a ploy to get him out of New Orleans. I doubt that very seriously. But it does stand to reason that he's getting in a lot of trouble out there, circumstances that are not favorable to him. Maybe he needs out of New Orleans, which is why I'm not making the argument they should keep him. I think they should try to get value for him at some point. Maybe not trading him this offseason, but maybe at the deadline when he does recoup some value. Because once he gets back on the court, you're going to remind everybody who he is. And that's probably when you want to trade him if you're New Orleans. But make the decision to trade him now. You know what I mean? Field offers. If you get a crazy offer, then take it. But I don't think they should be too hasty to trade Zion Williamson, because if you don't expect for him to have any type of season starting injury, then all of that talk about him not being on the floor is going to be out the window come preseason. He will be there. So if you can psych yourself into understanding that, then you understand that you got a healthy Zion Williamson at 23 years old if he starts the season coming into your situation. They got I think it's 2 or 3 rookies older than that are going to be drafted on Thursday. So I know that Zion's doing a lot of nonsense. I know he's on a big old contract that people don't probably want to bring in based on the immaturity. But when you consider what it is that teams are trying to build with strength and athleticism and all types of different types of players that are going to be coming in with size, heavy dudes with length, Zion has that ability. He's going to be that guy. He's still someone who can stretch the floor some. He's still someone who has defensive upside. He's still someone who's going to, again, score easier than everybody else because he's stronger than everybody else. And even when he's out of shape, he's still more athletic than everybody else. And that's what people need to understand. Zion Williamson, fat, can still do dunks that most cannot do. And because of it, all you got to do is get him in a nutrition program. Get him in a fitness program and have him stick to it. He's 22 years old. Yes, he's not going to take to it early. But by the time he's 24, he'll be used to it. He'll be where he needs to be. And if you have him chiseled by then, he's probably going to be MVP. Okay? His genetics are different. And that is the argument for Zion. Different. As in, not like me. You know what I'm saying? His fat is not my fat. He can still do things when he's heavy. And so people need to understand it. If you give up on this dude at 22 years old, with the type of genetics he has, if he gets himself together in shape like he's supposed to, like we expect him to, he could be a bowling ball for the next 10, 15 years. Jumping and flying, dunking, and blocking shots, it's going to be nasty. And I'm not confused about what type of player that is. I don't think that he's got his head on straight right now. He might need to talk to somebody and start figuring some things out about how to mature and overall just become a little bit more healthy about how he's handling things. But once that comes around, you're going to have an elite, dominant, heavy athlete. And I put an emphasis on heavy because the dude's like 300 pounds. So it's like, are you sure you want to give up on him? Because I look at guys like Julius Randle, and the difference between him and Julius, in my opinion, besides their game, which is somewhat different, but it's the length, the arm length. Juju's arms are shorter. Zion doesn't have that issue. So are you sure you're going to give away this monstrosity of an athlete because he's acting immature at 22 years of age. Who doesn't act immature at 22 years of age? I just think that people are jumping ahead of this thing a little too much. Like I said, if I'm the Pelicans, I got all the data that shows me I need to give up on this guy. The data that they have shows they should move on. It's the same thing I said about Kyrie last year with the Brooklyn Nets. The data that they have makes it so that they should feel like they should move on. But that don't mean that a new team should be trying to push him away. Nah, because you got a fresh slate with a healthy player. They're just trying to get rid of somebody that they've had for over time that they feel is a problem. It ain't a problem for you until it becomes one. And if you believe it will be, then hands off. But as far as I can tell, Zion's healthy. He's starting the season healthy, man. That is a 26 per game score at 300 pounds. Like, who's guarding him? You know what I'm saying? Who is guarding him? Honestly. There's a lot of people who are talking about Wembanyama. That's going to be the anti-Wembanyama. When he has to deal with that dude, he's going to score on him. Zion's going to score on him. And I'm telling you, I already know, man. I already know how this goes. Zion Williamson probably be an NBA champion before it's over with. All he needs to do is just mature like everybody else at 22 years of age. Literally, everybody else. And when he does that, if he can start working into the equation, taking care of his body physically as part of that maturity, which should obviously be the only thing he's thinking about if he want to really make the type of money that he wants to make, then yeah, I think he's the guy to invest in right now. You need to invest in him right now. You need to bring him in and let him mature in your building. And as he does, he's going to dominate. Absolutely dominate, because he's already proven that's who he is. It's not like when he's on the floor, he doesn't do that. We've seen enough of it to know that. People act like, just like with Kyrie, they act like they never seen him play before. Well, he's never there. You've seen him play enough to make him an all-star. You know what he got there. You know what he can do. So that's what I got to say, man. Teams like Portland, don't hesitate. Charlotte, don't hesitate. Go get him out of New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Go get him. Clippers, man. My mind goes to the Clippers. That Paul George trade for Zion Williamson makes all the sense in the world to me. All the sense in the world to me. Because you can send him over to New Orleans, pair him up with Brandon Ingram. They have a lot of forwards over there that can do some of what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are trying to do right now. They can do that in New Orleans with Trigger and Paul George, Brandon Ingram. I like that. That's kind of crazy. However, maybe they see it differently. Maybe they send him to a third spot. Either way, they can get George somewhere else. Clippers can get Zion. And, of course, picks and whatever can come the way of whatever that third team would be. So this is how I'm looking at this situation. I think the Ballmer should do that. I think he should bring Zion to L.A., and if he wants to keep Kawhi Leonard, I don't see no harm in that. I don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to object to bringing in Zion Williamson. He knows the type of player that is. He ain't going to object to that. Pairing him up next to Zubac may be a little much. I don't know if you like the fit, but that ain't the point. You just bring Zion at a lower price to your organization, and then just let him become the face of your team. You already have Blake Griffin, so it goes on par with the brand in that regard. I just think that's a good fit. He ain't got nothing going on at power forward position at all. Bring him in and see if that's not enough size to throw at Jokic. Zion and Zubac is a lot. That's a lot. I'm not saying they're going to outplay him, but it's a lot coming at him. It's a lot of heaviness. And that's what I'm looking at. Give me size. Throw the most heavy dudes in the world at that man. And that's what you're going to do. Aggressive and heavy. That's what you want. People like, what's that kid's name that's coming out? Cam Whitmore. Those are the type of players that I don't think Jokic wants to deal with too much. I bring up Paolo Banchero a lot. Aggressive, 250, 200, 300-pound dudes. Yeah, because he's 200, 300 pounds. So that's what you need to go at him with. Aggressive ones, those that are going to draw hit fouls against him, people he does not want to guard. So that's what I'm looking at, man. Obviously, the Lakers, I would love for us to find a way to land Zion, but you're not trading LeBron for Zion. That's not happening. You're not trading AD for Zion. That's never going to happen. AD's not going back to New Orleans for anything in the world, so you're not even considering that. But I tell you, man, we can do a lot with D'Angelo Russell if we max him out and then trade him. I know we don't want to do that because it puts us in a position to where, well, I keep on making that mistake. But no, as long as we're sending him out and not taking back a sign and trade player, we should be fine with the tax apron in theory. But giving him a 2-year deal at $30 million and then trading that. Somebody may actually want that because it only has 2 years on it. That seems to be covetable. People think they can play it out for a year and trade him out next off season, or it'll be an attractive contract for teams at the deadline right here. Which ain't the worst strategy if you believe D'Angelo Russell's not going to get hurt and make it so that you can't trade him at all. But that's the problem I have with him. The problem is there isn't a problem at all if you can find somebody to trade for him right now. At $30 million, you can do a lot. Pair that with Malik Beasley, which is going to be stretchable immediately, just like Chris Paul for most of these teams that would otherwise do this. That's $46 million right there. Add Bamba, $10 million, $56 million. The Lakers can trade that trio and bring back something. I don't think you want to bring back a superstar because that's obviously some Phoenix stuff. You don't want to do that. But again, that's $56 million that we can free up just by doing that, just by finding someone who would take D'Lo at $30 million for 2 years. So I like that idea. I'm hearing that they're trying to do that. That might be something that the Lakers want to do. I only really want to do that if we have a taker. If we have a taker. You know what I mean? If you don't have a taker, again, injuries, concerns, I think it's a chance you may not be able to trade him at all. But maybe somebody else feels that's cool. Maybe that's an attractive situation there for them. If so, you can get in the mix with somebody. Somebody that you don't expect to get. Somebody that nobody's expecting the Lakers to go after. You can do it. You know what I mean? And you might not want to, given the 3-star model being garbage for us. We don't want to go over the tax apron, but I'm talking about like you can. Basically, the option would be there for Jeannie to change her mind if she chose to. Ill-advised, depending on how you're building. Ill-advised, depending on how you're building. This is what I've been thinking about in regards to Phoenix. The only thing Phoenix should really be trying to do is find every undrafted player, anybody that they don't think is going to be drafted, they need to be bringing them in. Your whole team is going to be undrafted free agents and G League guys from other people's G League. Because that's what, that Mac McClung situation when Philly took Mac McClung from our Lakers, that's what Phoenix needs to be doing right now. Poaching everybody's G League team for their very best player, their second best player, and bringing them into their situation. I kid you not. That's Phoenix's way. Because what you need is just enough talented players to do all of the things that Beal, Durant, and Booker don't do. If you can find enough people who can just do those things at a high enough level, you're going to get the dynamic that they're looking for, which should make it so that those three guys are impossible to guard. Then they can be in the mix for what it is they're dreaming about. But they're not going to be able to do it if they're building the way it looks like they're going to be asked to build, which is vet minimum guys who are washed up. You do not want that. You would do better trying to find as many guys that are undrafted but really should be out there as possible. As many of them dudes and some of the foreign guys that haven't come over yet, you know what I mean? Guys that teams haven't brought over. Guys that are looking for an opportunity to be brought over. Maybe they were drafted 2 years ago, but the team still haven't just asked for their rights. That's the guy you need to take whatever you can. Whatever value you have for Wainwright, you need to trade him for that guy. I'm telling you, that's Phoenix's way. You need to find something out of nothing, because if you don't, it's gonna be as bad as people think it's gonna be. But if they can find them in Austin Reeves, or if they can find them somebody, anybody, a undrafted guy that can just step up and go crazy for them, I think that's their chance. Also, some of them dudes on their team, they really are good players. They have some value. What they need to do is try to take like a guy like Damian Lee, try to see if you can get a second round pick for him. Take a guy like Wainwright. Again, I don't really like Wainwright's game, but maybe you can try to get something for him. This is what the Phoenix Suns need to do, because I'm telling you, if they don't find something out of nothing, or if they don't turn one into two somehow, get overpriced value for something that they have, it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad. The type of bad that you only hope never happens to your franchise bad, in my opinion. But if they can find enough of those undrafted dudes, enough of those minimal dudes that can play better, who can increase in value, they can make up some of what it is that they've messed up here. Give themselves the leverage to then trade Ayton the way they want to. You see what I'm saying? Because we talked about that last night. Ayton's value is messed up now that they brought in the Beal no trade clause contract. I don't have to give you nothing for Beal for Ayton, because I know you need to get rid of him. We talked about that. this is the problem that they're going to run into. So they got to find them in Austin Reeves. They got to find them some type of second round pick. Buy a second round pick. Cash considerations. Buy second round picks, Phoenix. I would buy like 8 of them if I could. There's no reason not to. You're $1 trillion over the tax apron. Why not buy every second round pick available to you? Buy them. Buy them. We bought Jordan Clarkson. The Lakers, I don't know if people remember that. We bought Jordan Clarkson from the Wizards. Cash considerations. We got his draft rights that day. So that's the type of thing, Phoenix needs to do that, man. They need to do that. Because the problem with them is they don't invest in their young guys at all. The very worst team to try to do something like this without any young talent to show for it. It's just so very backwards, man. It's so very backwards. But that is their way forward, if you ask me, as I always tell people. Because you can bring in your DJ Augustines and your Jay Crowders, but you ain't going to get nothing for them, and they ain't going to do nothing for you. And that's the bottom line there. So that's what I got to say, man. I just wanted people to understand that I see a plan there for the Phoenix Suns. There's a way out of this. Guys are not going to get drafted. Some of these dudes, names that are just probably going to slip all the way out the draft. We know who they are by name. Those are the guys who need to be going to Phoenix. Every last one of them. And I ain't going to put no names out there because I hope all these guys get drafted. But some names are just starting to slip. And as they do, Phoenix needs to bring them in. Ain't no question about it. Just because you got undrafted does not mean you're not going to be playing on a championship level team, young fellas. Because that is possible. If I'm running things, if James Jones knows what the hell he's doing, he's going to try to find as many players out of nowhere, getting guys off the street, all that. People you've forgotten about, where he come from. I remember him. Yeah, get him back over if he had some upside. He's under 28, bring him back. Guy like Stanley Johnson, bring him in. You need that, Phoenix. You need that now. You know what I mean? Some of these dudes is kind of gone by the wayside. Bring them back. Because if you don't, that team is going to be horrible. You come in there with the type of roster you got right now into this offseason and think Ayton going to step up and be something he's not. It's going to be that bad. It's going to be really bad. I'm telling people. So it's very simple. Get enough talent and you have the dynamic. Once you have that dynamic down there where those guys can just get enough of their breathers, only have to play 35 minutes a game, each of them, keep them healthy. They don't have to play in back-to-backs, that kind of thing. If you keep that team healthy, yeah, they really are as dangerous as they look. And some of the issues that we can consider them having in regards to not being able to find continuity amongst each other, I think they'll work that out because they're going to have a training camp from which to do so. So that's what gives them a leg up. So that's what I'm saying. That is the end of that thought. I just look at the Phoenix Suns in this situation and I wonder if they know what they're doing, if they really know what they're doing. And also I'm keeping an eye on the Wizards as well because now they have a clean slate and they have all their picks and they could build something if they want to. Or they can just tank it out for the next several years and bring themselves as much, draft equity as possible. The best talent they can get. But the problem is they usually have bad luck in the draft lottery. So sort of like the Knicks. You expect them to get the 6th pick and they end up with, you expect to get the 1st pick and end up with the 6th, that kind of thing. It happens to them a lot. So, maybe they should try to build a different way. And if they do, it's going to be curious to see what they think will be work for them. So, yeah, moving Porzingis should be a very, very serious thing. And also, I think they like Kuzma. Even though they're probably going to, well, he declined his option. I think it's $16 million. But I think he's going to negotiate with them again on a different price, especially since they're shaving off everybody else. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't see him as part of their future. I think they may. Anthony Black, I can see them taking him, or Cason Wallace, I can see them taking him. If Kuzma's indeed out and they do trade Porzingis, that opens up things a lot. Taylor Hendricks, all these different types of players at the power forward position. Cam Whitmore, if he happens to fall, I doubt it. They probably have to trade up if they want that piece. But, yeah, I can see them doing all kinds of stuff now that they are in a position to where they don't have Bradley Beal. So, they could be a trade-up candidate. For all I know, they go and get Scoot. They got the assets to do it. They really do. They really, really do. So that's something to think about. I don't think people see the Wizards coming, but all they needed was Bradley Beal to get off their books. And it would expose then all of the assets they actually do have. People think their assets are wrapped up in players. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. They got assets in other areas and picks They got all their picks, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, keep an eye on the Wizards. They got a new president, and what his intention was to free up cap space and free up his overall portfolio of players. And at this point, they're the number one clean slate in the league. They can give anybody a bag. They can do anything they want with their roster. They can make trades to get anybody. They could take your star from you. It's a lot of stuff the Wizards can do. So people need to keep in mind that the Wizards are definitely a free agent target place. They can build a super team. They can do anything they want, literally. So keep an eye on them. That's what I see there. So that's what I got to say, man. It's time for me to eat. And I hope everybody enjoyed this content. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.